play every single quarter like it's the fourth quarter. In 2017, he set the NFL record with 19 fourth quarter touchdowns and just one pick. So let Russ cook. Les, answer me this. 6-2 record. We're going to take the good with the bad. 6-2 record, half of a season. 2,806 yards, 29 touchdowns, 10 turnovers. A lot of turnovers toward the end of that stretch. Everyone freaked out, including Pete Carroll. But the bottom line is this. He was on pace midway through the season to set the NFL record in touchdowns, and Pete Carroll said, nah, Russ, you're going to hand the ball off. You're going to play within the structure. We're going to grind out wins.
If it's really Pete Carroll, you should be a leader and then, just say, hey, no, this is how it's going to go. That's how it's going to go. And maybe that's why Russ is not a soft man, but, I think he's a soft, guy to his coaches and things like that. He lets, he's very respectful. And then sometimes, being so respectful or not, you got to sometimes be a little arrogant, like Rodgers and Brady, and, be like, no, this is how we going to run it because I'm the one on the field and, get this done. And that's why sometimes I myself and a lot of people knock Russ for that. Man up, bro. Man up. You play the Legion of Boom, rough it out like them. You know what I'm saying?
LeBron got coaches fired. Magic Johnson got coaches fired.
Great players always make sure, you know what I mean? Like, this is going to be run how I envision it. And guess what? They win because they're great players, and whatever they envision, it comes to life. All right.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Raw Sports Debate, our first episode. I am Michael Stephen, along with Leslie. Today, we're going to talk about Russell Wilson being traded to the Denver Broncos, Aaron Rodgers inking a new deal with Green Bay, and then we're going to end with some NBA old school content.
We're going to start with Russell Wilson trade, all right? So the Seahawks traded Russell Wilson and a sixth-round draft pick away to Denver for Harris, defensive tackle, Noah Fant, Drew Lock, and 2 first-round draft picks and 2 second-round draft picks. How'd you feel about that, Mike? Who do you think won in this trade, and who do you think won in this trade, and how do you feel about the trade in general?
I think the Broncos definitely won the trade. I think I understand why Seattle did it. A lot of reasons why it happened, but the bottom line is you receive the best player by far in the deal, you win the trade. That's how sports works.
It's about now. So I do agree on that. That's a fact that the best player going to whatever team, that's the team that won the trade. But also I do also want to bring up the fact that now Seattle has the number 2 cap space available. They can use that very wisely, but at the same time, if you have a guy like Russell Wilson, personally, I think they could have turned things around. They could have put more around him. You don't trade a guy like Russell Wilson and he's a generational talent. But as a 49ers fan, I love to see it happen, because Seattle, I don't think they're going to do anything with those draft picks. As, like Miami Dolphins got so many draft picks years ago, they're still Miami Dolphins. So I think sometimes, going all out like Denver's doing now, like Rams did a year ago, is the way to go sometimes. So I do applaud Denver for making this blockbuster deal. And I am happy about Seattle now about a stink with Pete Carroll. Okay. So what are you looking forward to with Wilson being in Denver right now?
Well, I believe that, he's getting ready for a decade of dominance with the Denver Broncos. A decade.
That's a bold statement. Let me know why. The fans want to know why.
Yeah. Listen, Russell Wilson's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. That may not be the general sentiment at this point. But I believe his body of work over 10 years and then what he's going to do with Denver is going to make that a extremely strong case by the time he retires.
Well, to be quite honest with you, I think Russell Wilson is one of those leaders. You put him on a decent team, he makes them better. You put him on a good team, he makes them great. You put him on a good offense, he makes them a great offense, right? And also they have a better defense than what he's had with Seattle after the Legion of Boom collapsed. Okay. So this is why I think you're right. He might be, I don't know about 10 years. I could see, 4 or 5 solid years, seeing him maybe twice in the AFC Championship. But also, you got to understand now he's going to be in the division with Patrick Mahomes. He's going to be in the same division with the Raiders, who have Derek Carr. I'm not so sold on Derek Carr, but the Raiders organization, being in Vegas, I know what they're going on. They got a lot coming, and I think the NFL should be ready as well. Also, as you can tell, Justin Herbert has grown into a phenomenal athlete and a quarterback and a great leader as well. Signing Mike Williams to that deal, they're adding a couple of pieces like Khalil Mack. So Russell Wilson is going to have his competition this year for a fact, and I think he's cut out for it the same way, when the Niners, Rams, and Cardinals were good, he was able to, still dominate in that division. So I could see him with better weapons, better younger weapons now, and a better defense, I wouldn't say dominated, but, being like very, very competitive. And, like I said, at least 2 AFC championship trips in the next 5 years. I should, expect that from him.
How about a Super Bowl win?
I could see one. I could see a Super Bowl appearance for sure in 2 years. I could see at least one Super Bowl, but he has to deal with my boy Josh Allen. And that's where I think AFC has a number of great young quarterbacks, and I think he's gonna have his work cut out for him. But let's see how the first season goes, and I can say more about it. But I personally believe at least one Super Bowl appearance. But like I said, it's not going to be easy. Winning it, I don't know. But getting if he gets there, he could win it. That's Russell Wilson. But like I said, I could see 5 years or 2 dominant, playoff runs for sure.
I respect that, and I think that we have to remember that Justin Herbert, has he played in the playoffs yet? He's a phenomenal talent. I love his arm strength. I like his swag on the field. But we have to remember who Patrick Mahomes is and Russell Wilson is. Those two are the best quarterbacks in the AFC, in my opinion. And I would put Josh Allen right next to them. But Josh Allen hasn't had that success yet. And I understand Russ hasn't had that success recently. But at the end of the day, nationally right now, he's not being treated like, Brett Favre 10 years into his career, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees. If those guys got traded there, you think people would be saying that Herbert and Burrow are better than them?
Not necessarily better than them, but and it's not because people actually think it. Russell Wilson hasn't, really done much since they won the Super Bowl. And that's something the NFL is always going to keep talking about, NFL fans and just sports fans as well. You got to understand, and in today's game, right? Whatever you do, whichever sport, whether it's basketball, football, whatever it may be, when you dominate for a while, and then there's a year where we don't hear your name, it's like, oh, he lost it. It's not like, oh, a slight decline. But if you're an average player and then out of nowhere, you have a wonderful season, and even if you don't get back to that, everybody still remember, oh, you remember when he had that? Yeah, but when great players and great people, what it is we always are gonna expect the same consistency from you. And that's not what, the fans and everybody, including myself, have been seeing with Russell Wilson years, since the 2013, I'll say the 2013 to 2015-16 season, he has not been that Russell Wilson that we know him to be. So respectfully. It's a
very interesting take, considering all the video and the numbers don't, align with your message.
You can say that, but playoff record and all of that is why I'm talking the way I'm talking. Okay. And just get into the postseason last year, 2 years ago, 3 years. It's like past 3 years, 4 years, right? What has he really done? Compare the past 3 years to his past 7 years. It's not, he's not the same Russell Wilson that we've known since he entered the league in 2012, is my point. And that's what, everybody is going to say. Nobody thinks Russell Wilson is not a great quarterback. You put him with the Niners, he already has 4 rings with Kyle Shanahan, but a brother can dream, wish. But at the same time, we'll see what's going to happen in Denver.
Listen, I'm going to break this down for you. Since you might have your opinion, and I appreciate your opinion. I respect how you say it. But there's still a large amount of fans, even Seattle fans, to this day that say Russ got carried by the Legion of Boom, and then he produced, and now, you know what? We needed to move on. There's still a general lack of respect for him as a player, and if you'll allow me, I would like to break down the reasons why I personally believe he's one of the best quarterbacks of all time, if I may. This is how I analyze players. I look at the video, okay? So number one is the video. I see accuracy, incredible accuracy. The moon balls, passes on the sidelines, getting hit in the pocket under pressure, and making the throws. And with that baseball background, him and Mahomes, they can be on the move, and they don't even have to plant one foot to throw it. They can just be running full sprint and just make that throw across their body, perfectly accurate, 20 to 40 yards down the field. Steve Young, Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, John Elway, some of the greats of all time. They are phenomenal at throwing on the run, but they had to make that one extra step and plant and throw. Russ doesn't have to do that.
And so does Josh Allen. He doesn't have to do none of that.
Josh Allen, Josh Allen may be in that group soon because he's got the size that Russ doesn't have. Now, I see on the video, I see athleticism. He runs to pass usually, but he also runs for huge chunks. Now we're going to see if he still has that going forward. He's got great vision. He avoids sacks, got the pump fakes. He knows where the line of scrimmage is. Now, as any Seattle fan knows, he will run into sacks from time to time. His athleticism has not been the same since his first 4 years in the league. And he sometimes struggles on rhythm throws. He does have his faults. But the bottom line is he produces touchdowns at a historic rate and throws interceptions and commits turnovers at a historically low rate. And he's got the leadership. He's calm, clutch, non-reactive, kind of like, Joe Montana or Michael Corleone. Very chill, very calm demeanor. He's got the intangibles. Blocks for his running backs. He has the crazy sandlot plays. He runs after guys, or at least he used to when he threw picks. And he's got a lot of comebacks. So to me, Les, that's what the video shows. Any thoughts on that?
Like you said, people have been asking and questioning why he hasn't been the same. Exactly like you said. He hasn't been the same athletic guy the first 4 years. Everything you said, I agree with you. But again, when you're questioning, my statement doesn't match with the video and the film, exactly. You actually answered my, question and made my statement clear. You said and admitted, he has not been the same since the
I have a
first
question.
4 years.
So I have a question. So in 2017, he had a 10-game stretch. That's 10 out of 16 games. He had a 7-3 record, and he had 3,258 yards, Les. 3,258 with 28 touchdowns and 9 turnovers. 10-game stretch. He was the MVP of the league over that stretch. But before and after, Pete Carroll gonna Pete Carroll. What does Pete Carroll do? Pete Carroll is a run-first, defensive-minded head coach that wants to run the ball on first and second down and have Russell Wilson bail him out on third down. And unfortunately, that's not a good recipe when you have a poor offensive line that you don't invest money in and you don't draft well for. So we got a bad mixture. So yes, I agree Russ hasn't produced in the playoffs like we need him to. But 2017, I just gave you that one. How about 2019? First 9 games. 2,708 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 2 turnovers. Best player in the league. But Lamar Jackson overshadowed him nationally, and then Lamar took off while Seattle faded down the stretch, both statistically, and then they lost in the second round of the playoffs. And One more. 2020, the let Russ cook era, which was just basically started on Twitter, which basically said, hey, let's let Russ play in the fourth quarter. Let's play every single quarter like it's the fourth quarter. In 2017, he set the NFL record with 19 fourth quarter touchdowns and just one pick. So let Russ cook. Les, answer me this. 6-2 record. We're going to take the good with the bad. 6-2 record, half of a season. 2,806 yards, 29 touchdowns, 10 turnovers. A lot of turnovers toward the end of that stretch. Everyone freaked out, including Pete Carroll. But the bottom line is this. He was on pace midway through the season to set the NFL record in touchdowns, and Pete Carroll said, nah, Russ, you're going to hand the ball off. You're going to play within the structure. We're going to grind out wins. And they were rewarded with another 6-2 stretch, so he still grinded out wins, but then they lost to the Rams in the playoffs. That was their reward. The football gods rewarded them with the Rams and Aaron Donald, the future Super Bowl champs, this year. So the bottom line is Russ has always been the same guy. He got less athletic, but even more cerebral with the game, and Pete Carroll created this mess for himself and didn't let Russ be Russ. He treated Russ like an amateur quarterback at the end of the day. And we're going to see, as a lot of us have said for many years now, that Russell Wilson without Pete Carroll is going to shine, and history will not look very kindly on the way Pete Carroll handled that situation.
Well, great points you made there. But like you also admitted, and while making those points, have the season or 9 games, or he always has these stretches. It
Right.
has to be consistent. First 4 years, it was always consistent, start to finish. Like I said, in the very end of his, now I wouldn't say end of his career, but very end of his Seattle career. This is where we seen this, and then interceptions and handing the ball over, all of that. If it's really Pete Carroll, you should be a leader, and then just say, hey, no, this is how it's gonna go. That's how it's gonna go. And maybe that's why Russ is not a soft man, but I think he's a soft, guy to his coaches and things like that. He lets, he's very respectful. And then sometimes, being so respectful or not, you gotta sometimes be a little arrogant, like Rodgers and Brady, and be like, no, this is how we gonna run it because I'm the one on the field and get this done. And that's why sometimes I myself and a lot of people knock Russ for that. Man up, bro. Man up. You play the Legion of Boom, rough it out like them. You know what I'm saying?
LeBron got coaches fired. Magic Johnson got coaches fired.
Great players always make sure, you know what I mean? Like this is gonna be run how I envision it. And guess what? They win because they're great players, and whatever they envision, it comes to life. All right. So enough with Russell Wilson. Now we're gonna jump into Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers signed a 3-year, $150 million extension with $101 million guaranteed. How do you feel about this? Do you think this is a win for Rodgers or a win for Packers or a win for both sides? What's your take on this?
I believe that it's a win for Rodgers. I mean, he got paid. He gets to stay where he's comfortable in a not so great division. As we talked about, the QB talent, they're in the AFC right now. Who's left in the NFC? Brady came back probably for the same reasons that I'm saying. Brady's like, hey, Aaron's there. I'll usually beat him anyway. I think that it's frustrating because what is he, 11-10 in the playoffs?
They always seem to lose at home in the playoffs.
Yep, they always seem to lose at home in the playoffs. He has great numbers. I think 45 touchdowns and 13 picks, but he doesn't take enough chances.
In the playoffs, yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't take enough chances. He'll take bad sacks at the worst times. He'll throw the ball away. He wasn't taking enough risks, and some bad luck, of course. But the bottom line is that it's worth a shot because if you're Green Bay, it's like, hey, we had Favre and Rodgers. What's the odds of continuing, getting another guy? Whatever happened with Love, they drafted him. It's over with. He's there. So if you're the Packers, I agree with it. If you're Aaron Rodgers, it's comfortable, and I'm okay with it. But part of me wanted to see him, go to Pittsburgh or go to, a team that the way Brady did, the way, in my opinion, Russ kind of did, like, hey, I'm going to go challenge Mahomes and Herbert and Allen and those guys. Like, I just feel like Rodgers is comfortable, and it makes sense for him financially and in the way he lives his life.
So personally, everybody might think I'm crazy on this one, but the real ones will know that I am not. Well, I am. Anyway, I think Green Bay should have never made this deal happen. Personally, I'll give Rodgers 1 year deal, 50 million. Right?
Yeah.
If you're really that guy, let's run it back one more time. But 3 years, I personally say no. Why? Because you drafted Jordan, you moved up in the draft last year to get Jordan Love, right? When coaches and organizations, GMs move up to get a quarterback, right? I personally think they have something that they feel about him. Maybe it's arm talent, maybe what they want to do in the future. This guy might be a perfect fit for it. Rodgers is 38 years old as we speak. 3 years, I don't see Rodgers dominating in the NFL for the next 3 years. But again, maybe also looking at his division, he's definitely going to make the playoffs. That's not a question. So however long he's there, he's going to definitely make the playoffs for the next 3 years. But also, here's my point, right? You have Josh, no, who's Bears? Okay, so now the Bears have
Bears have a quarterback?
Yeah, they have Justin Fields.
Okay, they haven't had a quarterback in like 35 years. All right.
Exactly. They have Justin, who's still yet to prove himself, but being a Buckeye fan, I'm rooting for him highly. So they have Justin Fields with the Bears. You have Jared Goff with the Lions, and Kirk Cousins with the Vikings, who we're going to talk about after Brady. You look at all these guys. These guys are not people that they don't threat. Brady doesn't. Rodgers doesn't feel any threat going into this year, next year, whatever it may be, because even if they're to draft a quarterback or trade for a quarterback or whatever, they still got to work on the team. So Rodgers is like, listen, I'll go back to Green Bay. They love me here. I don't have to really do much. I've only been to the Super Bowl one time, won it, and that's it. They're content with who I am. So guess what? He's going to go back there where everybody thinks he's a god. But Green Bay, you got to also think about it. This guy last year didn't want to really play, sat out, came back, franchise tag, now 3 years. It's like, I wanted my way. I want my cake and eat it too. No, like he has to earn this, and the next 2 years, what makes you guys think, like you were saying, like, hey, he might, be like, hey, we have Favre, Rodgers, what could go wrong? Yeah, you have Favre and Rodgers, 2 Super Bowls. Favre had one, Rodgers got one, maybe that's it. Maybe Green Bay just knows how to win 1 Super Bowl with a great quarterback.
In Rodgers' defense, he did have to deal with Mike McCarthy, who I believe
he did have to deal with Mike McCarthy.
Like, McCarthy was good from like 2000 and I think he was from the 49ers, actually.
He was never good. Don't ever say he was good with the 49ers. He was
an offensive coordinator. He was a coach with the Niners.
2005, he was our coach. He had the opportunity to draft Aaron Rodgers, but he chose to draft Alex Smith from Utah State, right? Conservative move. I get it. But at the same time, you have to understand Rodgers was a little bit proven, Alex Smith was more of a safer pick, which he became a safe player moving on, a good game manager. Rodgers has always had that chip on his shoulder. So guess what? The gods of football are not stupid. When all of that was all said and done, we got rid of Mike McCarthy. Guess what happened? He goes to Green Bay.
And he revived Brett Favre's career.
And guess who was there?
He did. He got to go to Brett Favre. And remember this, the move was questioned. Everyone was like, who's this Mike McCarthy guy? And you know what? Favre did well with him. Him and Rodgers clicked for 3 years, and then you know what? It seemed like McCarthy got figured out by like 2012. They blew that Seattle game. They blew a lot of games that they should have won in the playoffs. So,
and also, yeah, sure, he blew a lot of games, but now you have Matt LaFleur. This guy, Matt LaFleur, Zach Taylor, Kyle Shanahan, and what's his name, the Rams coach. they all came from the same tree, all right? They are great. Sean McVay, sorry. They all have this great offensive system. Look at the players and look at everybody he got around Rodgers. 2 years he was there, they were the best team in the league. When they went to this playoffs, they didn't have Mike McCarthy. They didn't have Mike McCarthy. Michael Stephen, I'm repeating this one more time. They did not have Mike McCarthy. They did have a good defense this time. They did have home field advantage this time. They were playing the worst team in the playoffs last season and could not put up more than 20 points, Mike. They were at home again. They sat home for a whole week to watch film, to get prepared, and still came out and played like they never played before. Aaron Rodgers was 1 for 3 in the last drive to do something for his team for 4 yards. People should not forget this. I don't care. That's a Jimmy Garoppolo stats right there. So my point is, if Rodgers can't do it, why sit there and give him that money? I'd rather nurture love right now. And then, go get you like a Matt Ryan, like somebody just to sit behind him and, coach him here and there. Let Rodgers go. Get like 5 draft picks for your team and now build around Love. But at the same time, I'm a Niners fan. People might think I'm hating. I'm not hating, but I'm actually really not scared of Aaron Rodgers. I might be scared of him during the regular season. Playoffs, I want us to play Rodgers. It feels good, especially to go win at his home field. We did it with Kaepernick. We did it with Jimmy Garoppolo. We didn't do it with Jimmy Garoppolo. We did it with our defense and special teams.
Jimmy G was the winning quarterback of the game.
He was the winning quarterback.
I will give you, a couple of points that I agree with. You go 13-3, 2 straight years, back-to-back MVPs.
No, 13-3 and 14-3. Back-to-back MVPs. Touchdown interception ratio.
But listen, you're right. 14-3.
The last
he played half the game. You're right. The thing is that I like that. Like, hey, we're going to give you 1 year out of respect. But we're not going to give you more, because the other thing that I obviously would never wish this on him, because I love watching him play and he's an all-time great player, but he has been an injury risk throughout his career. He's had 4 or 5 injuries.
Serious injuries, yeah.
Yeah,
his toe, his shoulder.
And he's getting up there in age and the weather conditions sometimes there. Like, and the other point is that a parallel I just thought of is, like, if you look at Rodgers' stats in 2018 and 2019, they look like almost eerily identical, even like the number of wins, like I think 6-7 wins to Russell last year, to the point of like, he got McCarthy out. Like Aaron Rodgers, like this is what I saw. Aaron Rodgers was throwing a ball out of bounds half the time because he couldn't stand the plays, or he just didn't want to take risks, and he was just throwing a ball out of bounds, throwing it away. Basically got McCarthy out of there through his mind, and it's like that's what Russ should have done. But so I kind of like your point. Like, hey, listen, 1 year, let's do this. And if you lose in the playoffs again, like, hey, we got to retool here, because you are crippling the team going forward. Like it's a lot of money.
And 1 year, $50 million. Listen, Brady signed 2 years with Tampa for $50 million. Okay, so you giving Rodgers $1 million? Got
a rich wife with the practices.
It doesn't matter. Same with Rodgers. He's got a supermodel or whatever, a girlfriend. Apparently they're not together again, so he's gonna be better this year. That's what one of my clients was telling me this at work. But anyway, that's something we'll say for another day. All right, but enough with Rodgers, because I can keep going on and on. But we're gonna jump into our facts, old school facts. This is Mike's favorite. Mike's gonna give you a fact, and I got one for you guys as well. Go ahead, Mike.
Will Chamberlain averaged in 1962 50.4 points a game on 48.5 minutes per game. And in a 1991 book, he claims that he slept with 20,000 different women.
Amazing.
Great historic figures all around. Yeah.
Well, I have one fact for you guys. And this is on Elvin Hayes, 60s, late. Elvin Hayes played 16 games in the NBA. He missed 9 games. Only 9 games. And out of those, come again?
16 years?
16 years, he only missed 9 games. And
That's
those
amazing.
9 games, two of them was his son's state championship games. So he missed those 2 games to go see that. But other than that, he only missed 9 games. Well, other than those two, he missed 7 games. But those two were for great reasons to go see your son play in a state championship. Hopefully, he turns out to be just like a great basketball player like himself. So yeah, that was a
Talking about
fact.
durability, man. They didn't have charter jets back then either, man. They had a tough time traveling. So that's
Tough time, they were
impressive.
not on no private planes and jets and you know transportation here and there. They had to go through it all. Not the best and prettiest hotels. All of these things, and 16 years missing only 9 games. Nothing. Where's the load management here? None. So I
Bonus
think that's
fact.
amazing.
I got a bonus fact.
All
Back to
right,
the
let's hear
60s.
this bonus fact.
Oscar Robertson, the Big O, one of the greatest guards of all time, but in my opinion, at this point in time, he's overrated. For his 10-year stretch with the Cincinnati Royals, okay, where he became the first player to average a triple-double, and he did so many times. For a 10-year stretch, he averaged 29, 10, and 9. Incredible, right? He won 2 playoff series in that entire run. Then he linked up with Kareem and the Bucks, and he won his only championship. So, all due respect to the Big O, one of the great all-time players. But when people talk about him today, like Charles Barkley said he was the best player of all time until Jordan, that doesn't really ring consistent with the way players are discussed today. If somebody won a playoff championship as the second best player and the best player is one of the 5 best players ever on their team, we would not be saying that they are that high on an all-time.
Yeah, I personally think sometimes Charles Barkley loves to troll, and then sometimes he loves to give love when to
Right.
people that don't get a lot of love. Charles Barkley has said so many people are the greatest, and so his takes are hilarious. I love Charles, but I think
And he hates analytics, but guess what? Analytics love him. That's the sad part. That dude shot 60% from the field, 75% from the line for like a 5-year period. That dude was an assassin on the court, the round mound and rebound.
Yeah, dominant.
Yeah. All them rebounds took a little toll up here, but that's all right. We love you, Charles.
When he got in shape, he was amazing. All right, tough guy.
Great guy.
And now, the last but not the least, Isiah Thomas, IT, your boy, was talking some crap over on the new. Did you hear anything about Isiah Thomas talking?
Yeah, it's funny. Me and you were talking a couple weeks ago about how Isaiah, always seems to pop up, once every couple months and talk about either take aggressive shots or passive aggressive shots at Michael Jordan. Now, yeah, I have some thoughts about this. Number one.
And then by the way, let me let the viewers know exactly what he said. He did say that he dominated Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan only started dominating during his back end of his career, and he claims that he was only worried about guys like Magic and Bird. He was competing with Magic and Bird. Michael Jordan was in his rear view. He wasn't even looking at him, but he claims at the very end that's when Michael got a better team, got better, and beat on his old self. That's
cool.
what that's what the exact, not necessarily the exact words, but that's exactly where he was going with that. But anyway, yeah, go ahead.
Brace yourselves. This is not going to be pretty. Number one, Isiah Thomas is an all-time great player. One of the best point guards that the game has ever seen. And he deserves his credit for creating the culture in Detroit, along with Bill Laimbeer, being the catalyst for the Pistons becoming contenders, being an attractive site for everyone to want to join and band together and eventually win 2 titles. He deserves a lot of respect for that. Number 2, Michael Jordan won 6 MVPs. Larry Bird won three in a row while Isaiah was in his prime. And Magic won how many MVPs? Several. Also during Isaiah's prime. Isiah Thomas has 1 5th-place finish, 2 9th-place finishes, and an 8th-place finish. Isiah Thomas is not in their league. And that's based on, I understand MVPs are just the opinions of others, but Isiah Thomas, both on the stat sheet and MVPs and the numbers themselves and everything you possibly could watch and imagine, Isiah Thomas is not on that playing field. And number 3, again, this is 3 out of like 10 because I'm going to go off right here, okay? And number 3, on that note, no great player has to keep saying, look what I did over and over again if he really knew that he was on that level, because he knows he's not on that level. Like it's obvious. It's like you don't have the accolades. Where's your all-defensive team? Did you guard number 4? Did you guard the best perimeter defender in most games? Or did Joe Dumars, your Hall of Fame 2-guard, do that for you? Did you not have the best big court in the best big men in the league in terms of setting the tone? You had the Legion of Boom. You had the Ray Lewis and the Ravens out there. You had Rick Mahorn, Bill Laimbeer, and you were able to, John Sally, you had trees. Okay? You were able to dictate the tone, okay, of the games that were played. Okay? Now, number 5, you played 22 playoff games against Michael Jordan. You won 12 out of 22. I get that. That's good. You got swept when you were 29, 30 years old, okay? You weren't like out of your prime. I understand you had some long playoff runs, okay? You averaged 19 points, 8 assists, 5 boards. You shot 40% from the field. Michael averaged 30 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists on 48% shooting. So you dominated him clearly. You know, you had 19 on 40%. He had 30. You had an entire scheme to stop him, and you held him to 30 points on 48% shooting. Great job. You actually did do a really good job because against everyone else in the playoffs during Jordan's first 9 years, he averaged like 37. So, yeah, they did do a good job, and they won. But the bottom line is, Les, and this is the most important thing. I watched the Bad Boys documentary, the 30 for 30, and that was a great documentary. I watched it many times, okay? And the bottom line is that showed that Isiah Thomas had great teammates. Joe Dumars, Bill Laimbeer, Dennis Rodman, Mahorn, Mark Aguirre, Vinny Microwave Johnson. I know they interchanged, but I mean, you had like a better version of Jamal Crawford off the bench, and they were better. You know, like you had that coming off your bench. You were deep. And as much as you try in interviews today and over the years, try to talk about how those guys are great and all these things, and those guys played with this many top 50 players, and these guys played with this. Oh, but I also had great teammates. It's like, no, you don't get to shit on your teammates and then try to slide in how you're bigging them up. It's like, no, Isiah, you were not that dude. You were the guy who set the tempo. You were the leader, and you hit big shots, and I'll give you credit for that. And don't get it twisted, Les. All right, Isiah Thomas threw one of the most famous passes in NBA history, and that was the steal by Bird. He made an unbelievably ridiculous mental error. 2-2 series, up by 1, 5 seconds left. Detroit's ball, they have a timeout left. He not only didn't call timeout, he threw the ball under his own basket, okay? Kids like, 10-year-olds know not to do that, okay? You don't throw the ball under your own basket up by 1 with 5 seconds left. One of the most egregious chokes of all time, okay? And now on the interview last week, he goes, oh, we had that one. Yeah, you had it won, and you blew it, and you still would have had to win Game 6 against the great Larry Bird. Oh, and wait. Did you see the documentary? Did you see the way that he handled the Larry Bird situation? Where he repeated Rodman's quote. He still won't apologize. He's like, I know not to repeat someone else's quote. You still won't even be a man about it and just say, I was wrong. I should not have handled it that way. He handled it very immaturely in the press conference, started laughing, making jokes. He just couldn't be like, yo, I was wrong. I shouldn't have repeated it. Handle it like a grown man. No. That's your character, Isiah. Did Magic Johnson blame you? Did Magic Johnson blame you for creating gay rumors about him? Yes, he did. And did you walk off the court against Michael Jordan and the Bulls because they said mean things about you in the media? Really? Oh, the Celtics did it to us, so it's okay. Well, Les, let me tell you something. Someone went and punched me like last year. So then I went shopping the other day and I punched someone in the face. You know what I said to the cops? Oh, I said, this guy punched me last year, so I decided to pay it forward. I punched him this year. Who cares? Isiah Thomas, you walked off the court. That was an immature act. And then I don't know what number I'm at. It doesn't matter. The dream team. Okay, let's break this down. Jordan didn't like you for good reason. Bird, okay. Well, I mean, if I was him, I wouldn't like you either after the way you acted with that situation. Magic, we just went over that. Pippen hates you. Karl Malone, I'm sure he loved you since, you were compared with John Stockton. And by the way, where's the accountability, Isiah? You were the ringleader. This documentary show, we're going to be the bad boys. We're going to rough people up. That's just what we're going to do. We're going to hurt you. We're going to set the tone. We're going to set the tone. We want the town to quake when we walk through the door, right? All the fancy music. Yeah, it's great. Well, you were the ringleader of a band of bad boys. Mm-hmm. You paid your penance by not playing on a dream team. Your own coach was the coach of the dream team. And he didn't fight for you because he knew it was a losing battle because nobody on that team wanted you, bro.
By the way, I don't mean to cut you off, but just so you know, he might have been better than the point guards taken in that, but statistically, the year before and that year, he was not a first or second team all NBA. Yes. He was not a first or second team all NBA. And everybody that got picked was either a first or second team NBA, all defense, and so personally,
or Bird Magic. So he thought he deserved the Bird Magic treatment, and that's the point.
Yeah,
he did.
He wasn't. Yes, exactly my point.
And the last thing is when he talks about Jordan. Okay, Les, if we were in gym class and you put all in 1988. Okay, in 1988, because Isiah, meanwhile in the documentary, saying how he lost sleep and couldn't sleep, and him and Chuck had to come up with the bad boy rules in the middle of the playoffs. So you were thinking about Jordan because he was the best player in basketball. Okay, the Pistons' first title run, they went 15-2. Their two losses were to the Bulls. They were down 2-1. Jordan hit a game-winning bank shot. Okay, so Jordan was the best player in the league at that point. It was known. He was the MVP. Okay. If you, for those three playoff series, if you just lined everyone up in the gym and you said, Mike and Les, take your picks, okay? We're taking MJ first. We're probably taking Isiah second. And then after that, how many straight guys are you taking on the Pistons besides Pippen? And trust me, Pippen wasn't Pippen yet. Pippen wasn't Pippen in 88, 89, even 90. 90, he was about to be Pippen, and then in Game 7, he had a migraine. And he even admitted he was worried about the game. He was worried about the Pistons. I feel bad for the dude, but the bottom line is that was the year you picked Pippen. But the bottom line is 7 or 8 of the 10 players in that court, me and you would pick. They'd be Pistons. Bulls had some brawlers, but the Pistons had the best team. They had more Hall of Famers. They had more camaraderie. They just had everything. The Pistons were
a bench.
Yeah, and that's part of the game. So I have had it with Isiah Thomas. Oh, it just shows deep insecurity. He can speak all he wants. It's cool, and he can laugh about it. But at the end of the day, we all know the truth. And the truth is that, yes, his teams went 3-1 against Michael Jordan. But Isiah, deep down, comes off like a man who is insecure about his place in NBA.
All right, I respect all of that you said. I personally think again he's insecure about Michael Jordan's success because bad boy Pistons, bad boys, But then this comes, here comes this 84, this young Michael Jordan. The league loves him. Pistons get to beat on him in the East, of course. And then Jordan turns it around after the rules were changed, and Pippen becomes an all-star. Also, people need to know it took Pippen about 3 years to become an all-star. Okay, so he wasn't the Pippen that we knew him to be. And also, after he became an all-star, he was defensively amazing. Okay, and that's what transpired into his offensive game as well, and then everybody around him. And that's why I look at Isiah Thomas and I'm like, bro, you're very bitter and insecure. Why? Because you had a team. The Bulls was Michael Jordan. Okay. It was Michael Jordan versus the bad boy Pistons. It wasn't Isiah and the bad boy Pistons. Nobody cared about just Isiah. It was the bad boy Pistons. Because you didn't have to deal with Isiah Thomas. Everybody can deal with him offensively, because defense, he was a liability a little bit.
Does he have any all defensive teams?
No. Then that's my point. On defense, he was a liability, but everybody around him was so good, it didn't matter. You understand what I'm saying? But when you go to the Bulls, they're not all good, they were not all great, but they had Michael Jordan, so they mattered. He put them on the map. People forget, before Michael Jordan came to the Bulls were nothing, okay? The Bulls had no championship, they had no identity, nothing like that. Michael Jordan put them on the map, okay?
Where was Isiah from?
Let the fans know.
Chicago.
And again, more bitterness, more bitterness. The guy comes to my city, my town, and is running it up with them. But you should just be thankful. And one thing on the Last Dance that, I see memes of all the time is like, I met the criteria, but I wasn't picked. No, you didn't. What was the criteria? You were not the best point guard in the league that year, okay? And your name, like I said, you were not the Michael Jordan of your team. You just had a great team. You may have been the most popular guy on your team, but my point being is, you were not, anybody that was picked over you at your position was doing a better job than you that year. So there's no reason for him to still be there till this day and be bitter about it. Okay. But again, that's what, usually happens with greats. Where, things like this is always going to play on along. I'm sure when AD is done, he's going to have some things to say about the Suns, same with Booker, Paul, all of these things. But, all of these things make, a great conversation for us to, sit here and talk about, analyze, debate, and things like that. So, great episode today. Again, the Raw Sports Debate brought to you by Michael, Steven, and myself, Leslie.